In this video, you will learn about writing an equation in point-slope form. The point-slope form is another way of writing an equation. In this equation, you're going to fill it in with the coordinates of a point and the slope. In the first blank, you fill in the y-coordinate of the point. In the next blank, you fill in the slope. And finally, you fill in the x-coordinate of the point. And filling in the blanks is the easiest way to rewrite it, and it's the easiest way to write an equation. For our first example, it says to write the equation of a line through the point -2, 1 with a slope of 4/3. Now the easiest way to do this is to rewrite our point-slope form with the blanks. So it's y minus the blank equals the blank times x minus the blank. Now we're going to fill this in. So our slope goes in the blank next to the parentheses. So it's 4/3. And then of our coordinate, the y goes with the y. So I'm going to fill in from this part right here. I'm going to say it's y minus 1 and x minus -2. Now I can simplify this one step further to become y minus 1 equals 4/3, and subtracting a negative is the same thing as saying x plus 2. For the next one, it says to write the equation of a line through 6, -5 with a slope of 7. So I'm going to fill it in to the formula. So if I fill it in, my slope is 7, so that goes next to parentheses. And my coordinate is 6, -5. So I can fill in the -5 with the y and the 6 with the x. And if I simplify this, y minus -5 is really y plus 5 equals 7 times x minus 6. Pause the video and try the next one on your own. In our next example, we're again writing the equation of a line given a point and the slope. So our slope is -5/4. So I'm going to plug that in next to parentheses. And our point is 2, -5. So I'm going to put the -5, which is the y-coordinate, with the y, and the x-coordinate with the x. And this would simplify to be y plus 5, -5/4 x minus 2. Now, if we are given 2 points and it asks us to write the equation of a line of point-slope, first you have to find the slope of the line. So if I were to do this for this example, I'm going to call my points x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'll plug them in to the slope formula. So if I do that, I have my slope is 5 minus 0 over 5 minus. If I simplify, I'm going to have 5/4, and that's my slope of the equation. Now to write it in point-slope form, it depends upon which point you choose. If I chose to use the point of 1, 0, my equation would be as follows. So I'm going to fill it in to that general formula again. So I'm going to plug in, so my slope is 5/4, my y is 0, and my x is 1. And this would be a fine answer. If I had instead chosen to use the point 5, 5, my answer would be different. So I would substitute into that general formula again. So this time I would have, I'm going to plug in, my slope is 5/4, my y is 5, and my x is 5. So my final answer for this one is given here. And again, either of these answers is correct. Pause this video and take a minute to try the next one on your own. In the next example, I'm writing the equation through the points -4, 10 and -6, 15. So first, I need to find the slope of the line. So I'm going to plug it into the slope formula, which is y2, so it's 15, minus y1, which is 10, over x2, which is -6, minus -4. If I simplify, 15 minus 10 gives me 5, and this becomes -6 plus 4. So this will become 5 over -2, which I could rewrite as -5 over 2. Now, if you had chosen the point -4, 10, you'd plug it into your original point slope. So we'd have our formula set up, and I would substitute. So my slope is -5 over 2, my y is 10, and my x is -4. So this would become y minus 10 equals -5/2 times x plus 4. Now, if instead you had chosen the point -6, 15, you would also still substitute it into that same original general formula. So my slope is still -5/2. The y coordinate is 15, and the x coordinate is -6. So I could rewrite this as y minus 15 equals -5/2 x plus 6. Now, in order to graph an equation in point-slope form, you're first going to use the distributive property. So I would distribute the -2 to both of my terms. So it'll become y minus 3 equals -2x plus 8. Then you're going to finish solving to get y by itself. So you would add 3 to both sides to get y equals -2x plus 11. Now I can graph this equation using slope-intercept form, which is my y equals mx plus b. So looking at the equation, my slope is -2. So the slope is -2, which can be written as -2 over 1. And the y-intercept, or b, is 11. So to graph, I'm going to plot my point 11, and I'm going to move using the slope. So I'll go down 2 and over 1, and finish drawing in the line. Pause the video and try the next one on your own. In the next one, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm first going to use the distributive property to solve the right side of the equation. So it'll become y plus 1 equals -1/2 x plus 1.5. Then we're going to solve to get y by itself. So I would subtract 1 from both sides. So my equation will be y equals -1/2 x plus 0.5. So my y-intercept, or my slope I mean, is -1/2. And my y-intercept is 0.5. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept and use the slope to move along the graph. And finally, draw in the line. In this example, it says an event facility has a banquet hall that can hold up to 250 people. The price for a party includes the cost of the event, of the room rental, plus the cost of a meal for each guest. Write an equation in point slope and slope intercept form. Now, what this graph gives us is basically the set of ordered pairs. So for the first one, we could say that this is my point and it's at 50, 725. Here I have a point, the x coordinate is 100, 1325, and etc. We could do it for the remaining points. However, we only need 2 to write an equation of a line, so we're going to focus on those 2. So my 2 ordered pairs are 50, 725, and 100, 1325. To write the equation in point slope or slope intercept form, we first have to start with finding the slope. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I consider the first order pair x1, y1, and x2, y2, it becomes the slope is 1325 minus 725 over my x2 is 100 minus my x1 is 50. Now when I simplify, the 1325 minus 725 gives us a value of 600 over 100 minus 50 is 50. And when I finish dividing that, 600 divided by 50 gives us a value of 12. Now we have to rewrite our equation in point slope form. And remember that point slope form is y minus the blank equals the blank times x minus the blank, where we're filling in the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. Now for this, we know that our slope is this value right here of 12. So I can fill in a 12. The other thing we need is one of the ordered pairs, and it's up to you which one you want to choose. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to choose to use the first one. So I have that my x coordinate is 50, is going to go in the second blank, or the third blank, excuse me. So this is 50, and the y coordinate of 725 is going to go in the first one. Now if I want to solve to change this to point slope form, because now I've taken care of, I wrote in point slope, but I still have to solve to get the slope intercept. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to distribute the 12 to both terms. So it's going to be y minus 725 equals 12x minus 600. And then to finish solving, get y by itself, I'd have to add 725 to both sides, which will give us y equals 12x plus 125. So I have my slope intercept form as well as one of the possible point slope forms. Now the next part of the problem asks, what is the slope? Given what we got on the previous slide, remember that we know that we always write our equations in the form y equals mx plus b. So in this case, the slope would be this value of 12. So the slope is 12. Now in this case, we know that our x value, or x represents the number of guests, and y represents the cost. So based on this and knowing that it's 12, we can conclude that the slope means that it's $12 per guest. And lastly, for this part, it asks what is the y-intercept of the problem. So the y-intercept is the b value, which in this case is 125. So our y-intercept is $125, and that represents the initial cost of the room with no guests. And lastly, it says Marissa is planning an event for 75 people. She budgeted $12,000 or $1,200 for the party. Will it be enough? In order to determine whether it will be enough, we know that there's 75 people. So we're going to let x equal 75. So using my original equation, it would be y equals 12 times the 75 plus 125 to see what that equals. Now when I plug this in, 12 times 75 gives me a value of 900 plus 125 is 1,025. So we have y equals $1,000 and 25. Now we have that she had budgeted $1,200. However, it's only going to cost $1,025, which means that yes, she budgeted enough money.